Hello everyone, my name is Chad Kaufman. I'm the RFSI Grant Specialist, and today we're going to go over the RFSI Request for Reimbursement cover sheet with detail sheet attached. So just a brief overview, the Request for Reimbursement cover sheet with the detail sheet attached acts as a summary of the expenses that you're going to be reporting on, whether it is for reimbursement or for reporting your match for if you have an infrastructure grant. Um, the sheet consists of two different tabs. You have your cover sheet located here, and then your detail sheet located here. The detail sheet acts as a more descriptive summary of those expenses, and the cover sheet summarizes what is on the detail sheet into this category slash description section here. This acts as a general table where we can assign the expense values to a specific category and match that one-to-one with the categories located on your grant. So to start off, we're just going to go from the cover sheet top to bottom. We have the contract number section here. Each contract has a unique value with us. So, for example, all RFSI grants start with RFSI space WI and then a three-digit number behind it, usually starting with 0, followed by today's date. That would be the day you submit for your reimbursement. And then period covered by this claim. That would be the time frame in which all the expenses that you're reporting on were incurred. So incurred means that you actively sought purchase of those pieces there. So when an invoice says 11/25/24, that would mean that that expense incurred on November 25th of 24. Followed by that is a general table for your categories. Now, starting left from right, we have the category side where each one of those expenses is attributed to a category, which you will assign in the detail sheet, and it will auto sum here in the green section. And to keep in mind, each one of these cells that has a specific color to it, there's a reason for that color. So we're just going to go over that pretty quickly here. The tan sections are the sections that you are able to fill out. So for example, the description section, you don't necessarily have to fill out, but you have the opportunity to do so, as the description section actually has a built-in formula located in each one of these cells that will say see details sheet if there's a value attributed to a specific section. Or if you're sending this via email, you don't necessarily have to sign, as when you send over an email, that acts as your authorization to seek a reimbursement. Now, going down here to the lower sections, we see a lot of gray shaded cells. These actually don't need any input from any of our entities. These are for strict agency use. So for example, for a complete reimbursement, I would sign here, and then individual from finance would sign here as well. Followed by that, you'll see on your individual reimbursement cover sheets that this section is mostly filled out here, and those relate to your new supplier information. This section over here is for my use and just in terms of reviewing the expenses. Followed by that is a formula that calculates how much you should be receiving for your reimbursement, and that would be the same exact total here as it is over here for total project charges to grant funds. Followed by that We have the detail sheet, which has 8 separate columns. The reimbursement guide that was provided to all entities that received an RFSI grant provides detail on how to fill it out. However, today we're going to go over an example. So to start, we're going to go with the cover sheet and say my contract number is um, RFSI Wisconsin 100. Then we would put today's date, so the date in which I anticipate submitting, followed by period covered by this claim. So you'll see behind me we have an example of an invoice. So let's take a look here. We have the name of the entity that we are purchasing from, invoice number, the date, and then also the description of the item along with its cost. So I'm just going to put that invoice date here. And this is going to be an easy one since we only have one item. Followed by that, again, this is a tan area, so you could technically fill it out, but you don't necessarily have to, as the formula could take care of it for you. Followed by that, we have this section here, which we don't necessarily have to fill out if we're sending an email. So I'm going to go over to the detail sheet now, as the cover sheet is mostly filled out. Starting left from right, we have the expense category. So as it's a delivery vehicle, and I look at my contract and something at this scale would be considered an equipment piece, we're going to call it a piece of equipment. And you'll see at this drop down here, it contains all of the category values that are available on the cover sheet, and it matches one-to-one with the category values that were listed in the infrastructure summaries. So I'm going to select equipment, invoice, which would be the entity that I'm receiving the invoice from, so it'd be XYZ Transportation. Invoice number, which would be this guy right here. Expense description. So we got ourselves a delivery vehicle. And a really handy way for us to know where this is located in your contract is if you put the item number for this particular expense. So for example, if my contract lists the delivery vehicle as item number 2, I would just put number 2 there. We have invoice date. And then we have these last 3 sections. We have the amount claimed, which isn't necessarily the acquisition cost, but this is how much in value is being attributed to your overall project. So, for example, we will say that we have an infrastructure grant, and with this infrastructure grant, we have placed this piece of equipment 50% on the grant fund side and 50% on the match side. So we're going to split it 50-50. And 50-50 of 50,000 is 25,000. And same over here. So if you are, say, an equipment-only grant, you will not be needing to use this last column over here. You would just need to write it in your grant funds section. And as you can see, these two values were totaled over here in terms of the amount claimed towards your project. Now we're just going to go back over to the cover sheet, and we will see that these values are now attributed to the table here in the right category here in terms of equipment. And you can see now that's already filled in. It says see detail sheet, so that's an indicator for me to look around for that equipment piece or multiple equipment pieces there. And then we have these green sections here that outline the um, project total, so how much is going towards the project, which would be the same as the amount claimed. And then say you have multiple expenses, these values will increase and capture how much in grant funds and match funds and project total is being attributed to your grant. After that, it looks like you have yourself a complete um, reimbursement cover sheet that you will be able to send over to DATCAP RFSI at wisconsin.gov. Other than that, this process here is designed, again, as just a general summary that helps us discern expense items from one another. And again, if you have any questions on how to fill out one of these reimbursement guides, please feel free to reach out at the DATCAP RFSI at wisconsin.gov email. We'll be happy to assist you there. In the meantime, my name is Chad Kaufman, and again, let me know if you need anything.